this second part of the 4-part series of the videos I'm going to do of the brain, I'm going to go over the brainstem, which is the middle part of the brain. Kind of looks like a seahorse. I forgot to mention about the cerebellum, so a couple parts. So I'll start off with the cerebellum first, and then go over the brainstem. Okay. This is the cerebellum back here, and that does memorization of motor movements. Okay. So riding a bike, playing the piano, there's certain motor processes that you do. So what the cerebellum does is that it memorizes motor commands, so you can just be able to do it like no problem. See these guys playing the guitar, you know, stringing away, because they just repeat it, and the cerebellum memorizes it. Okay, so anyways, let's look at some parts here. If I were to when I put these two together, okay, you're going to see a little space in between the cerebellum. Oop, maybe there. Okay, you can see you see that little bridge right there between the two cerebellar halves. That's called the vermis, and vermis in Latin means worm. Okay. So vermis, worm. And within that vermis, you're going to have these little white lines in here, which is called the arbor vitae. And that just sends signals to the cerebrum, left and right halves, and then also connects it to the brainstem. Okay, so let's go to the brainstem here. Okay, now if you look, kind of looks like a seahorse. Okay, here you have the belly of the seahorse, the body, here's the head, here's its mohawk, here's the eye, the mouth area. We've got a little hunchback back here, and the cerebellum is in the back of it. Let me use the colored video here, the functional brain, because it's got some literature in there that you can read, and then we'll come back to this. Okay, I just wanted to show you the cerebellum for this. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, here you have our little seahorse here. Okay. Here's the corpus callosum, the septum pellucidum, and the fornix. Kind of rolls off your tongue saying those three in a row. Corpus callosum, septum pellucidum, fornix. Corpus callosum. Keep on repeating that. I don't know, maybe that's something that you memorize in triplets, in threes. But anyways, that helps out. Okay, now here you see some literature. I'm just going to put the camera right there, just right in front of there. Oh, that looks beautiful. You can pause that and read that later on. But this is kind of like the head of the seahorse here. This is the eye and the mouth. See, we got maybe like a little mullet back here. Okay, so this part here is called a diencephalon. Now, you're going to hear a lot of cephalons, because those are the names that are given to the baby, especially in the fetus. And then once the baby is born, and those names are replaced by some of them. Diencephalon still holds there, but the other ones will have the names that we typically hear. Like, for example, the telencephalon will be the cerebrum. The diencephalon will be divided into hypothalamus, thalamus, and epithalamus. The mesencephalon will be the midbrain. Okay. The metencephalon will be the pons and the cerebellum, and then the myelencephalon will be the medulla oblongata. Okay, so you're going to hear me alternating between those two, but just know that distinction. So in the diencephalon, we're going to have three parts: the hypothalamus, the thalamus, and the epithalamus. It's a little bit blurry, a little bit sharper there. Hypothalamus, thalamus, and epithalamus. The hypothalamus is actually our primitive brain. Okay, before we developed our cortex, the hypothalamus controlled everything. It gave us sex, hunger, aggression. Just those basic primal instincts. So the hypothalamus, like that, this is the mouth of the seahorse, this little triangle-shaped part, which is the hypothalamus, which is our primitive brain. And the little tic-tac, I like to say a little tic-tac, but that's in the mouth of the seahorse. But that's called the pituitary gland. Okay? The pituitary gland right there. And the pituitary gland is a tiny gland that sits between your eyes, and it produces a bunch of hormones which help regulate our cycles, everything. It's a very important gland. Okay, I mean, a whole chapter spent on the endocrine system, and the pituitary gland is the star of the show. So all the hormones are released or produced in the hypothalamus, and then eventually released, and some are produced in the pituitary gland. So they work together. Okay. So here you have the hypothalamus, then you have the thalamus. It's a major sensory relay station. So when the senses go up your body, it has to cross over from the right side of the body. It crosses over to the left side via this structure called the intermediate mass, or the interthalamic adhesion. Okay? So it crosses over, and then it goes to the primary sensory cortex. Okay? And then here in the back, we have the pineal gland. A little structure right there. Okay, the pineal gland has produces melatonin, which helps regulate day-night sleep cycles. So when the melatonin is released here in copious quantities, then you're going to want to go to sleep. And if you try to fight it, good luck with that. All right, so that's the Diencephalon, hypothalamus, thalamus, and epithalamus. Let's go to the midbrain, which is the Mesencephalon. Okay, the Mesencephalon. The Mesencephalon is going to be made up of the cerebral peduncle, cerebral aqueduct, which we'll go over that in the third video that I'll do for the brain, for the cerebrospinal circulation. And then we have the corporal quadrigemina. Okay, you can see this little bump up here and the bump down here. That's the superior caliculi and inferior caliculi, and they're paired. So you're going to have 4 in total. That's why they call it the corpora, the body, quad for gemina. So the body of the 4 gems. Okay. And I'll show you that on another model. Okay, we're not repeating another model here. Then we have the Metencephalon, which is the Pons and Cerebellum. Here you see the arbor vitae. Barely see the little lines in there. Arbor vitae and the vermis. Okay, and then we have the Medulla Oblongata. Okay, for our vital functions, heart, lungs. The vagus nerve comes off of that. Okay, so all right, so that's an overall view of the brainstem. Now let's look at one more model. Actually, let's look at this one again. Hypothalamus, the corpus callosum, septum pellucidum, fornix, diencephalon, which is the head of the seahorse, made up of the hypothalamus, thalamus, epithalamus. Hypothalamus has the pituitary gland, which is missing here. Also the mammillary body. I didn't mention it on the other video. Mammillary body helps in the feeding and suckling reflexes for the babies. That's how they know how to feed off the mom. Okay, and then here you have the thalamus with the intermediate mass, and then the epithalamus with the pineal gland. Not this pink structure. Pineal gland is this. The pink structure is actually called the choroid plexus of the third ventricle, and we'll go over those with the CSF circulation in the, I'm not sure if the third or the fourth video, we'll see. Here you have the mesencephalon, which is made up of the cerebral peduncle, cerebral aqueduct, and the corporal quadrigemina. Superior caliculi is for visual reflexes, and the inferior caliculi is for auditory reflexes. The pons, okay, for your breathing centers. Cerebellum with the arbor vitae and the vermis, and then the medulla oblongata, which is the metencephalon, and these two being the metencephalon. All right, so let's look at this model right here. This is the brainstem. Let's look at it in the inside, right there. Here's our seahorse, the belly, the body, the head. Okay, so here you have the diencephalon. Okay, the hypothalamus, thalamus with the intermediate mass, and the epithalamus with the pineal gland, which releases melatonin. Here you have the pons, and the cerebellum sits back here. Here's the midbrain, which is the mesencephalon with the cerebral peduncle, cerebral aqueduct. And I want to show you with this model, which is pretty cool, the corporal quadrigemina in the back. You can see it clearly here. Here's the corporal quadrigemina. 1, 2, 3, 4. The body of the 4 gems. 2 superior caliculi, 2 inferior caliculi. So those are visual reflexes, these two, and auditory reflexes, the inferior ones. Now that, like, if you ever walk, that just gives you reflexes. Like if you're walking down an alley and it's kind of dark, you start seeing things and hearing things, you know. So that kind of gives you that kind of like a paranoid or just alert visual and auditory reflexes. Okay. Okay, and then we go down here to the medulla oblongata, which is the metencephalon. Okay, I think we got this. If you have any questions, let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe. And part 3, not sure what I'm going to do yet, either the cranial nerves or the CSF circulation. Stay tuned for that. Take care. Bye.